morning. For those of you I have not had a chance to meet yet, I am Aimeclaire Roche. I am the new director of schools. I go by AC around the schoolhouse, except to the kids, until they graduate, which we took care of yesterday. But I am just thrilled to be here with you today and to welcome you back to your campus and to the place that was home to you either a few or many years ago. And it's been a great pleasure to come on board, to inherit an institution that Arliss Sybert has and continues to love, and that has many, many great things to do in its future. What Dom DiMarco, the president of the Cranbrook educational community, and I did upon my arrival was define some goals for me this year, and that's really where I've spent my time, the most important of which really has been to develop relationships and to stay as closely tied to the campus this year so that I was able to learn the rhythms and ways of doing and being that infuse this particular place. And it has been a fantastic year, trying to be as much as possible in the classroom with the teachers and kids, walking hallways, being among them at all the divisions, from the early childhood in Brookside through the middles and on up through the upper school. And so it's, for me, this is a grand and great institution. And part of what drew me here was its size and capacity as a school and as a leading school, what I think of as a leading school in the country. Education is immensely people-centric work. It takes an intensity of emotion and passion and dedication. And so building those relationships with the students and with the faculty, I think is the bedrock of any moment of transition in an institution, because I don't think you can go forward unless those who are with you in the everyday work feel a sense of investment and trust from you. And so I've really relished this year of listening and learning and getting to know the ways of the place. As I often say, I still continue to get lost around campus, and many of my learnings and questions are rather mundane, like where's the bathroom in this building? But it's been fantastic. I will say I had a dark moment after the 6th snow day. We had actually 2 for snow, 2 for cold. It was too cold to go to school, and 1 for ice this year, which I believe is an all-time record. And I thought, what have I done? Moving from La Jolla, California, and the sunny climes there. What rational person moves to Michigan? What are you thinking? But I, having grown up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, have an affinity for this part of the country, and it felt good to come closer to home. I have also now graduated the current students and the class of 2019 yesterday, and I feel like I've not only survived the winter, but I'm a lot less responsible today than I was yesterday for those 217 fabulous kids, and they are fabulous. What has been a real pleasure is to get to know particularly the seniors, because they have such an oversized influence on the culture of a school, particularly the upper school, and to get to know them as the inventive and engaging young people that we are putting out into the world. They are going near and far. Their college options and college choices are remarkable. This year we had 2 students who were actually accepted as Moorhead scholars at UNC Chapel Hill, and if you know anything about that particular award, it is a 4-year full tuition scholarship with summer internships and opportunities that are fully paid for. A remarkable thing to have 2 students invited to join that program. 1 student will accept the program and go on and represent us really well. And then they're fleeing to all parts of the country and beyond. We will have at least 1 student in Shanghai at Yale University's campus there for the first year. And then we'll have kids closer to home. Lots of Wolverines and Spartans, lots of burgeoning engineers at campuses all over the country, from Carnegie Mellon, from my hometown, to UC Berkeley on the West Coast and everywhere in between. And students who are pursuing with serious intent their work in the arts, the fine and performing arts, whether that's at the Tisch School at NYU or whether that's at the Eastman School of Music or many others. I think what's impressed me in this year is how thoughtful our students are about what their next step will be. and feeling as if they have been able to develop with freedom here a real sense of commitment and passion to a particular part of their world and their worldview. And so it's exciting to see the opportunities that they're going to take grasp of. More important than all that, from my perspective, is that these young people, they're curious and they're really interesting. When you sit down and talk with them, you find that they have fierce opinions, they want to debate, they want to discuss, they write well and must continue to be taught how to write well. They are also amazing ambassadors for this school. They go out in any number of different programs we have into the wider community, and they represent us well. I will say they've also been amazing ambassadors to me. There are many times where I've taken full advantage of my new gal status and wandered into a classroom or up on the dormitories during check-in or sat down at a lunch or dinner table. And there's no better person to ask than an adolescent in particular. So, kids, what's the deal with XYZ? And they'll often look to their right and look to their left to see if the coast is clear. And then they'll say, well, and give you the straight skinny. And that has been fabulous. I have really enjoyed getting to know them in that way and learning from them, because they really, as you did when you were students here, hold the culture of the school very much in their hands. It is a big school, and there are 1,600 kids who go to school here every day, from the early childhood center to the 12th grade. I say that because I want to impress upon you the size and scope of the student body that we have. It is perhaps a much larger school than it was when you were a student here. But in that size, there is a thriving student culture. One of the really prized May projects that the senior class did this year, as students go out for the last 3 weeks of school into internships far and away, about 15 of them went down to Brookside and gave themselves over to be teachers' assistants to the Brookside teachers. And it was a phenomenal experience. When the 5th graders were doing their moving up ceremony into the 6th grade just a few days ago, they called out those young teachers as particularly effective mentors in their lives. And one of our brightest students, the young woman who actually gave the commencement address yesterday, was talking about her experience with me, and she said, I had no idea how hard it was to be a teacher and to not do it for them, to let them figure out whatever it is on their own. And I think she's quite possibly considering a world of education for her own life down the road, which is very exciting. For those of you who joined us at commencement yesterday, I do want to say thank you for that. Your presence there lets those young people know that you are invested in their lives. And I would say with great appreciation, thank you for that commitment and what I see as an implicit charge of being an alumnus and alumna of a school like this, that you are forever holding forth a hope for that next generation to go out and to aim high, go forth, serve, and do what needs to be done in the contemporary age that they inhabit. Cathy, as well as Juan Carlos, spoke to that so beautifully yesterday, each in their own way. To be true and to have passions that one knows are unique to oneself, but yet in service of a greater good, in service of an outward world. And so I know that all of those youngsters took that message seriously. This cultivation of self, and yet a recognition that one is not the center of the universe. I also thank you for your commitment to that on the institutional level. As Cranbrook moves into its next incarnation, as we make this transition, as we think about what chapters are next, I think we too have to be simultaneously inward but also outward looking. And your commitment as those who have experienced the school in the past, your commitment to what the future holds is so very important. I think that there are new roads for this place to take and new ways to think about education, and your knowledge and belief that while Cranbrook is something that crosses all the ages, in the end we must be putting out graduates who serve the age in which they live, who address the problems of their contemporary time with candor with thoughtfulness, with a precision of analysis that will hold them and the future in good stead. You know, when I've taken much of this year to learn, as I said, but also have begun to put a few thumbtacks in a broader map of ideas and places to go. And I will borrow from Dom sort of three aspects or ways of thinking about any institution that I think are really helpful: place, program, and people. Because it's a way of organizing so much that is complex, I think, about Cranbrook schools. When I think about place, and you all know well, this campus itself teaches. There is something about living and learning amid the beauty of it, amid the thoughtfulness of it, that is itself a teacher that imbues every student's experience and tells them and tells us about diligence and detailed precision, as well as it teaches us to relish spontaneity, creativity, and the personal flourish. At the same time, to appreciate a work ethic and things that only one's hand can rot. That all of that comes to us through this campus. And so my questions moving forward are about how do we leverage the fullness of that? How do we make that classroom living and breathing and lively in every student's experience, from the very youngest to the very eldest of them? I also think about the wider assets of the Cranbrook educational community. There is no other independent school that has the resources that we have. And I think it's a fundamental question about how we are leveraging those resources, not just every now and again, not just when a teacher happens to have an interesting passion or interest in it, but how do we systematically ensure that all of our students are taking advantage of the Art Academy and Art Museum, of the Science Institute, of our own archives? How are they living pieces of our current curriculum? I'd love to put a greater focus on that. I think the faculty are really eager to put a greater focus on that. This spring, Susan Ewing, the director of the Art Academy, she actually juried our students' work at the end of the year. A fantastic overlap and use of our wider resources. I want to ensure that every burgeoning engineer that comes out of the schools has a meaningful experience and relationship with the Science Institute. If we're not taking advantage of these resources, we are not fulfilling the promise that this school has. And so putting greater intentional focus on that, I think, is a really interesting place for us to go and may stretch us a little bit. Which also leads us to new programming, thinking about how we're really utilizing an interdisciplinary mindset. You know, I'm a Latin teacher, and so I came out of a schooling system that was highly siloed and very traditional in some ways. I think the world in which these young people are living and learning and working is a very different interdisciplinary world. How are we thinking about our program to support their active engagement in that world? Are we utilizing our skills across academic departments? Are we leveraging all that we bring to the table in math, science, arts, humanities? How are we speaking together and ensuring we're making the best use of our students' time? The faculty is really excited to look at that. I would love to ensure that that is systematically done across the program. This is the first year we've launched a course in what we call Department X, which is intentionally named because it is interdisciplinary. It was a course in social entrepreneurship, which leveraged Detroit, using that as a laboratory for thinking about how businesses are structured, how civic engagement happens. That kind of course can be offered here and can be offered easily and well. How are we replicating that across time? I would argue that we have done it in many ways. I think about the Wilderness Program, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary, which is fantastic because it is experiential and is by nature interdisciplinary. What you experience on that trip forces you to bring together your different ways of thinking in order to actually do the experience, to have that experience. And I would argue it points to things that we teach about intellectually, but often don't allow students to fully experience. Things like collaboration, There's nothing like being out on that trip with those other 8 students and your one leader, figuring out how you make your way, how you navigate the elements, how you deal with unanticipated crisis in some cases. It gives you the ability not just to know about independence, but to live it in the solo, to actually make your own understanding of that intellectual concept that I'm sure we've taught you in the classroom. But do we actually allow you to live it in a meaningful way? Pushing the program to be more experiential is something I would argue we have a lot of history in, and we can do really well. If you look at other independent schools around the country, you will see them struggling right now to define such programs. We've been doing it for 50 years. This past year, the 2 leaders of that program on the faculty, who are also alums of the school, Audrey Ormulian as well as David Cohen, had some time off from their classroom work to look at the wilderness program, make a review of it, invite a national leader in that space, NOLS, the Outward Leadership Development Program for young people, to actually come and assess, are we abiding by best practices? I will tell you that that audit went extraordinarily well. We learned from it, we felt validated by it, but it allows us to move forward with that program in incredibly meaningful ways. I am so thrilled that so many of you have come back this weekend to celebrate Frank Norton's vision of that and the great 50 years of work. I think it can expand into the wider program in really meaningful ways, the lessons that we've learned there. And finally, people. A world-class institution, a school such as ours, not just has appropriate systems and systematic ways of looking at programming, but has and develops world-class people. For us, that is heartily the students and the faculty. And so I look to the future and I think, how will we continue to develop the finest faculty for young people that we can possibly have? We will see a tide of retirements over the next 6 to 10 years. Faculty members and colleagues who have given 30, 40 plus years of service to this amazing school. You think about Sarkis Halasian, Richard Lamb, Sharon Peacock, the Weidenbachs, amazing educators, each in their own sphere of the school. How will we replace them? Who will we attract? And how will we retain and continue to develop those professionals is a key place for Cranbrook to put its attention. Because your faculty is who drives your school. They drive the energy of the classroom. I'm sure you can sit here today and think fondly back to the teacher, the coach, the advisor who made a difference in your young life. When I ask kids, who's your person? They can always give me a name. They can earmark a faculty member, a staff member that they've connected with, that they know they can speak candidly to, that they know they have a shoulder to lean on, a place to get good advice. That's what Cranbrook does so well and must continue to do so well. And I would say it's on 2 fronts. Warm-heartedness alone does not make for a great teacher. At the same time, an academician who has no sympathy and patience for young people, who has no sense of humor, is useless. Finding those people to replace our colleagues, to bring new skills and new perspectives is a key piece of our future. As well as attracting a student body that is absolutely the most promising and absolutely the most mission appropriate. Cranbrook can serve amazing kids. We need to find them. We need to know where they are. Making sure that we have the resources to support students of every stripe, from every corner from which we can attract them, is a key piece of what this school absolutely must do. I'm happy to say, and I really do want to call out, that there are classes that have come back for a reunion that have given us tremendous resources to help with that work. And so the class of 1959 has in fact secured gifts and pledges totaling, I understand this morning, over $100,000 in order to honor their 60th reunion. This is in part thanks to an anonymous donor who offered a matching contribution up to $30,000. And so they handily reached, thanks to the leadership of Ray Sokolov, thank you so much, that goal to give us resources for financial aid and scholarship, which is such a meaningful piece of attracting the right student body. At the same time, the class of 1989 established the Aim High Scholarship Fund with gifts and pledges of over $31,000, all of which are key pieces, again, of attracting promising, mission-appropriate students to this school. Because every year we award over $7 or $8 million in financial aid to our student body to make sure that we have the most robust young people here possible. And so I hope that gives you a little insight on the way I think about school, the way I hope we tread a path forward and make the most of what we have been given to steward for the time that we're here. I need your help and support. I am not shy about asking for your time, your talent, and I will very unabashedly say your treasure. And I hope you hold us accountable. I hope when you come back, you ask us, certainly, what traditions are we preserving, but I hope you ask us what is new, how we are keeping pace, how we are preparing these young people for this world in which they will make a difference. They will make their own lives better. They will make the lives of others better. I hope you hold us accountable to that charge, to be an ever-evolving, ever-vibrant place. And I hope we can answer you with really hearty tones. So thank you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for loving this place. Thank you for helping me come to know it through your eyes. And I hope you have a fabulous weekend. There are others on the docket. I think Laurie Frankel is next, so I will call her forward. Thank you so much for being here.
I just said, you are so fabulous. I love her energy, and I'm so excited to see where the school goes in the future. So, thank you. I am Laurie Frankel, a proud member of the class of 1979 with one of our distinguished alumni, Chuckle Alejos. It's a big year for us. It's our 40th year reunion. And I did not know until yesterday there's a song about 40 years on that they sing at the Cranbrook graduation. I'm like, wow, this is about us. This is so exciting. My daughter also graduated cum laude yesterday and was able to hear our other distinguished alumni and be inspired by her words. So that was very exciting for me as well. And I have a son who next year will get to listen to the boys speaker. It's been a wonderful year to be part of the Alumni Association. We had our annual meeting this spring where we were able to meet with people locally, introduce them to Aimeclaire, who joined us. It's so important for her to hear from us about our experiences and get to know us, so I would really hope that everyone will take the time to introduce themselves and share a tidbit or two with her. I know she's going to be overwhelmed this weekend, but I know she welcomes hearing from all of you, and it's important that she knows the past of the school. As she mentioned, she is known as AC by everyone except for me. I do call her Aimeclaire. As I mentioned to her once, I went to University of Michigan, and there was an amazing running back named Anthony Carter, and he went by the name AC, and they look nothing alike, and I just cannot call her AC because of that, so forever she will be Aimeclaire to me. At our annual meeting, we were able to share some very exciting news. Due to the success of our dues program, we were able to endow a fund that will ensure alumni outreach into the future. So I want to thank everyone who's contributed to that. It will allow us to be more flexible and innovative in the way we create opportunities to connect with our alumni in cities around the world and of all generations. Another highlight of that annual meeting was that we were able to induct 2 new members into the honorary alumni status. This happens in the rarest of occasions. There are only 10 honorary alumni until this year when we added 2 more. And they were such deserving people, Sarkis Halasian and Rich Lamb. who have combined 86 years of service to the Cranbrook community. So when you see them, congratulate them on their retirements, wish them well, and also congratulate them on their status of making it as honorary alumni. Many of you were here last night during the event that honored Sarkis. There is an event today in the Cranbrook Reading Room from 4 to 5 where Rich and Betsy Lamb will be. So hopefully you'll have an opportunity to stop by there and wish them well. One of the neat things we do is we get to review our alumni and make a recommendation to the administration on who will be the Distinguished Alumni. And let me tell you, we have no shortage of qualified alumni. And this year's recipients, 2 recipients, are just excellent examples of the caliber of our alumni. I had the privilege to listen to both of them yesterday, but I'm going to be talking about Cathy. From the class of 1984, who addressed the women of the class of 2019 yesterday. And one thing I've learned about Cathy, she graduated 5 years behind me, so we did not know each other in school. But she takes things very literally. So our school motto is aim high, and Cathy literally took that. And she encouraged our youngest alumni to reach for the stars, follow their passion, and the importance of teamwork, which I thought was a great part of your talk. She came to Kingswood in 8th grade, having been bored in her current middle school, and I think when people are bored, they tend to get distracted and wander, and she was so excited to come here and be challenged, and credits the school for nurturing and fostering her innate nature to be curious, engaged, and interested in the maths and sciences. After graduating in 1984, she has a very impressive academic path. She holds a bachelor's degree from MIT in aeronautics and astronautics. Her master's degree is from Stanford in aerospace engineering, and then she returned to MIT for her doctorate in Earth, Atmosphere, and Planetary Sciences. Uber impressive here. She is currently working at the Southwest Research Institute in Boulder, and her main topics of research are outer solar systems, which is so far above my head. But she's a deputy project manager for NASA's New Horizons mission to Pluto and beyond, which made the news this past January because they found a snowman-shaped mass known as Ultima Thule, which is the furthest place ever studied, I believe. She's currently involved in the solar-powered Lucy spacecraft to examine asteroids around Jupiter, I believe. So fellow alumni, friends, I am pleased to introduce our distinguished alumni for the 2019 Cathy Sybert Olkin, Kingswood, class of 1984.
Thank you, Laurie, and thank you to the faculty, staff, and administration of Cranbrook. I have many fond memories of my years here, from getting to conduct in Mr. Halazian's band class, to running around campus with cross country, to attending the wilderness experience trip, and to having the best of friends who would quietly tell me that I had my sweater on backwards in first period before anybody else could notice. But most importantly, Kingswood was the school that I needed at a time that I desperately needed it. I was in public school from kindergarten to 7th grade. In elementary school, sometimes I had really good years, like in 5th grade, when I had a teacher who shared my love for rocks and minerals. Other times I had difficult years, like in 3rd grade, when my classroom teacher asked my parents to come in and to suggest that I should be in a special education classroom. I was not a good student when I was bored, and I refused to just demonstrate that I knew something because someone asked me to. By the time that 7th grade came around, it was clear that I needed a change. Both my parents and I knew that I needed a fresh start. And a little aside here, I want to thank my parents who are here today for always supporting me, believing in me, and encouraging my curiosity. Thank you. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to attend Kingswood starting in my 8th grade year. I knew that this was the second chance that I needed. One day in algebra class, my teacher had derived the general solution for the quadratic equation. And I was so excited to see that, that immediately, right in the middle of her lecture, I tried to derive the solution for the 3rd order polynomial. And I was fully engaged in what I was doing, paying no attention whatsoever to the teacher who is still busy trying to teach the class. And I don't recommend that. I didn't notice that she started walking down the aisle of the desks towards me, because clearly I wasn't paying attention. And she stopped right in front of my desk, and she asked me what I was doing. And my heart sank, and I couldn't believe it, because in my mind I thought, I had a second chance and I just blew it. It's going to be just like it was before. This is going to be terrible. I'm going to be in trouble again. And I mumbled that I was trying to solve the 3rd order polynomial. And remarkably, instead of getting mad at me, she was interested in what I was doing and she was encouraging me. That is when I knew I found an educational community for me. And that is just one example of why Kingswood was the school that I needed. While this story is unique to me, I don't believe in any way that that experience is unique to me. Each Kingswood alum has their own story of how this educational community supported her in the way that she needed. Thank you so much for promoting a love of learning and exploration, and thank you very much for this honor.
Well, it's still morning for about 7 minutes, so I'm still going to wish you a good morning. My name is Cory Kroneman. I am president-elect of the Cranbrook Kingswood Alumni Association and a member of the class of 1997, so I think I'm at 22 years now. The Alumni Association has had another busy year as we continue to be successful in supporting the mission of the school and helping alumni connect and engage. And despite having to reschedule due to sub-zero temperatures this past, I believe it was supposed to schedule for January, and I think we ended up doing it in March, if I recall. The career fair for the seniors and juniors, we had nearly 70 alumni from a wide variety of fields on site to give advice and discuss careers ranging from law to finance. And it's quite an undertaking, as you can imagine, and we can't do it all on our own. And the Alumni Association is very grateful for the support of the Dean of Girls, Sharon Peacock, who gives us access to this room and the dining hall as well, and somehow figures out a way to feed all the boarders that their dining hall has been taken over by us. So we are very grateful to her. This is just one of the many reasons the Alumni Association designated Sharon Peacock the recipient of the Alumni Appreciation Award just this past Thursday. And Sharon retires this month after 16 years as the Dean of Girls, and we offer congratulations and we thank her for her support for the career fair and other initiatives that she's helped us with over the years. So in addition to the career fair, we also supported the foundation of a new form of alumni mentoring events where smaller groups of students with interest in a particular field have an opportunity to dine on campus with visiting alumni. So whether you are a local alum or only getting to town every so often, there are plenty of opportunities for you to inspire and support current students. And I encourage you to do so because, as AC said, they really are fabulous kids. I had 9 for Senior May this year for 3 weeks, and we missed them after about a week or so. So we're looking forward to next May. So yesterday we had graduation, and I had the privilege of being in the audience when our Distinguished Alumnus, Dr. Juan Alejos, or as his friends know him from the class of 79, Chuck, addressed the men's class of 2019 at their commencement ceremony. And as the director of the UCLA Pediatric Heart Transplant Program, Dr. Alejos has performed successful transplants on patients as young as 28 days old, giving children born with heart complications a second chance at life. Now, you might think that the satisfaction that comes from helping his patients and families in California might be enough to sustain him. But Dr. Alejos was inspired by the memory of his father, a pediatrician, to make an even greater impact in the lives of young children. Knowing that children born in other parts of the world have such limited access to the level of care that he and his colleagues could provide, Dr. Alejos founded the Hearts with Hope Foundation as a way to honor the memory of his father, who did his pediatric training in Peru. As president of the foundation, he has led multiple missions to Peru, El Salvador, and the Philippines, leading teams of volunteers to assist children with congenital heart disease in the underserved global community. So he inspired our boys' class of 2019 to give back, and that there will always be obstacles and there will always be doubters, but through hard work and determination, you can make a difference. And of course, Dr. Alejos encouraged the boys to aim high in all of their future endeavors. So fellow alumni, faculty, and friends, I am proud to introduce our Distinguished Alumnus for 2019, Dr. Juan Carlos Chuck Alejos, class of 1979, the year I was born. I'd like to give this to you on behalf of the Alumni Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Cory. I had all these comments prepared, but I decided to just toss them and go kind of ad lib, because coming back here last night threw me back to a whole different world. I kind of got catapulted back into 7th grade, 8th grade. I remember this like as the 7th grade school dance, and I remember standing in that corner for pretty much the whole duration, trying to figure out if I get the courage to ask somebody else to dance. But don't too many of you laugh, because a bunch of you here were standing back there with me. So Cranbrook really, to me, when I was here, I don't think I realized how important it was, the role it was going to take in my life. And when I left here, I realized that it had given me the foundation to become the person I would become. I admit before I came to Cranbrook, before I came to Brookside, I was really not excited about it. I was shy. I wasn't very outgoing. And I was in a school, I'd made friends, and all of a sudden I was kind of ripped out of that environment and granted, yes, in that school I was very bored. I didn't quite act out quite as much, but I was bored, and I really wasn't challenged very much. But I came here and I was challenged every day that I was here, and I bet the people that I met here were the best people, not just the teachers, my friends, the students. Last night, except for a little bit more gray hair or a little bit less hair, they're all, everybody's exactly the same as it was back in 1979, so I really appreciate that. I think from there, going on to what I did, was just almost kind of a natural steps of progression, and I think finding, Hearts with Hope has kind of been my marker in life. If I can leave something behind, I'm hoping that somebody picks it up after I stop and takes that forward, continuing to give to people who are less fortunate than us. I have to thank my family who's here with me. My wife, Jewel, my daughters, Gabriella or Gabby, Alexandra or Alex, my mom, Rosalia, my mom, who had to be a mother and a father to me for many years. She did as any good parent. She gave me encouragement, but she also slapped me down every once in a while when I got to be a little bit too out of place. But my family was the one who watched me turn my vacation time into missions and disappear for 2 weeks to work. But to do work, for them at first it was like, you're taking a vacation and you're gonna go do work. And it was a little bit hard to understand until they saw how fulfilled I was coming back. And when I first started, it was really, I was president, I was vice president, I was a treasurer, I was everything, because it was just me. And I started in my office after hours, so keeping me there from 7, 8 p.m., 10 p.m. at night, trying to write letters to raise money. And then as people started going with me, it became very infectious, and I realized that people need that feeling of being able to help others. And now I've got no shortage of volunteers, no shortage of physicians willing, and not just physicians, nurses, humanitarian staff, dentists who are willing to give up their vacation time to travel overseas and do this for kids. The people we help are very grateful, and that just makes it all the easier to do it again the next year. So Hearts with Hope became a passion, but that passion found its seed here at Cranbrook, and I think I'll always be grateful for that, and I'm honored. I don't know that I did anything that any of my other classmates don't do, but I'm very honored to receive this award, and I thank you all for having me here today. Thank you.
And good afternoon. Barely. I'm very pleased. My name's DiMarco. I'm Cranbrook's president. Very pleased to welcome our alumni back to campus, and in particular to this alumni assembly. I've said in the past that while there is much activity on our campus during the school year, involving more than 1,600 students from the ages of 3.5 to 18, I'm convinced that the energy level increases tenfold during Alumni Weekend. So thanks so much for coming. I love seeing so many smiling faces, hearing some great stories, some scary stories. But on behalf of all of us at Cranbrook, we hope you come back often. I'd like to recognize a couple people that are in the room. Do I see Bruce Peterson somewhere? Bruce Peterson. So Bruce Peterson, please stand. Bruce Peterson's the chair of the Board of Trustees at Cranbrook. He is stepping down in June after 7 years and has been my partner during my presidency here at Cranbrook. So thank you, Bruce, very much. Bruce has 3 sons who graduated from Cranbrook, and he is staying on the Board of Trustees for at least 1 more year, unless we can talk him into more years. One more person in particular, Jamie Feliski. Please stand up, Jamie. Jameson Williams Feliski. Jamie, class of Kingswood class of 86, I believe. And Jamie is stepping down in June as the chair of the Board of Governors. Really good news. The June trustees meeting will appoint her as an at-large trustee, so Jamie will at least serve another 3 years as an at-large trustee. Thank you so much, Jamie. All right. Okay. So this weekend we're not only, as you know and heard, welcoming back our alumni, but also our new director of schools, Aimeclaire, Roche, Aimeclaire. It's not every day that Cranbrook gets a new director of schools. Our last one was here 26 years, about 25 years, and after a 47-year run here at Cranbrook. And AC, that would be a good goal for you for next year. Think about a long tenure here, long tenure. AC joined us in August with her husband, Nathan Costa. Nathan, just put your hand up for us, Nathan. Let me tell you, from my own personal experience, you can't do this job alone. It's impossible. You really need a partner that understands, a partner that's willing to listen, a partner that's willing to say, oh, come on, it'll be better tomorrow. And she has one in Nathan, I know, and as I do in my wife, Erin. As Aimeclaire said, she came to Cranbrook from leading the Bishop School in La Jolla. She immediately became the best friends of the kids by setting a record 6 days off and launching a 40-foot outdoor snowman out in front of her house. So the kids obviously really love Aimeclaire, particularly the Brooksiders. But AC, as she is known, has a sturdy and distinguished resume. She did not let the Michigan weather deter her. Prior to the Bishop School, she was the assistant head of the Groton School. She taught at several other prestigious independent schools, including the Phillips Exeter Academy in Exeter, New Hampshire. Her professional credentials also include serving as a recent president of the board of the California Association of Independent Schools. So she comes to us with this great schoolhouse experience. She's a teacher at heart. And it's just so wonderful that she's with us now. I'd like to just quote what she wrote in Traditions magazine recently, which I think is really the essence of AC. She said, after all, ours is a full tapestry of educational opportunity. We embrace every grade level from early childhood to 12th grade. We are both boarding and day. Our programs are co-ed and single gender, coupled with Horizons Upward Bound. There is literally no hard-working student domestic or from international and diverse climes that the schools do not or could not serve. I'd also like to offer congratulations to retiring schools faculty and administrators, Sarkis Elysian, Rich Lamb, Kathy Riegel, Andy and Martha Weidenbach, and Sharon Peacock. A former president former president of Cranbrook once said that when you enter Cranbrook, after a very short period of time, it enters you. And I think that's very, very true, not only for our alums, but also our administrators and our faculty throughout the campus. And I also want to recognize the generosity, as AC did, of the classes of 1959, in particular in the classes of 1989, and also to recognize that we have a great attendance from the class of 1979. It's great to have you back on campus, so thank you very much. This morning we're recognizing two of the many alumni who represent the very best of Kingswood Cranbrook. These individuals we honor today embody the enduring values of the school, the qualities we teach our students: excellence, integrity, personal and social responsibility, curiosity, imagination, appreciation of the arts, and for different cultures, critical thinking, and contributing to our global community. They also share something else in common. Cathy Sybert Olkin and Juan Carlos Alejos are big idea thinkers. Cathy's career as a planetary scientist has taken her great distances, leading long-term projects. As Deputy Project Director for NASA's New Horizons mission to Pluto, she and the team built a spacecraft which over a decade traveled 3 billion miles to Pluto and returned extraordinary data from the furthest reaches of our outer solar system. Currently, Cathy is Deputy Principal Investigator for NASA's Lucy mission, another long-term project which will launch in 2021 and fly past its targets, the Trojan asteroids around Jupiter, between 2025 and 2033. So we'll be watching that in the news as we follow your career. While Cathy works with long distances and time frames, as a pediatric cardiologist, Juan Carlos Alejos works on the smallest patients and sometimes fast-paced critical surgeries. In the 1990s, Juan Carlos began traveling to Lima, Peru, to treat children with cardiac disease and to train physicians in that country in the latest surgical techniques. As we have learned, in 2005, he created Corazones con Esperanza, Hearts with Hope, whose volunteer doctors have performed almost 150 open heart surgeries, probably more now, even more now, and hundreds of other cardiac and surgical procedures in other Latin countries, bringing medical and dental services to 5,000 children in Peru alone. While Juan Carlos admits that the Hearts with Hope is not going to change the world or save every child, he believes, and we agree, that it's going to make a small dent, it's going to make a difference. So Juan Carlos, from the languages in the countries you serve, muchas gracias, and muito obrigado in Portuguese from Brazil. Thank you very much. Cathy and Juan Carlos also have another thing in common. Beyond their big ideas, they're both involved in a heart. As a cardiologist, Juan Carlos's connection is obvious. But I'll tell you that a few of you may not know of one of the pictures that Cathy's New Horizon spacecraft brought back. It was a picture of a heart over Pluto, 1,000 miles across the equator of Pluto. And it's not to mistake this with the snowman that she talked about yesterday. Backing up a little bit, the man who discovered Pluto in 1930 became the first human to have his ashes flown out into outer space. This gentleman's name was Clyde Tombaugh. He died on January 17th, 1997, 9 years and 2 days before New Horizons launch. But one of his final requests was that his ashes be sent out into space, into outer space. The heart image on Pluto has been named Tomba Regio. It was first identified as soon as the New Horizons probe recovered from the issue it had that Cathy talked about at graduation yesterday. The computer actually went into a safe mode, which is not a good thing, and they had to figure out what to tell the spacecraft to do, what instructions to give it, to launch the backup computer on board. As soon as that happened, the heart image was one of the first images that came up and came back to Earth. And go online and look at it. It is a beautiful, bright heart in the middle of Pluto. So thank you very much for that. The real-life examples that Cathy and Juan Carlos offer our students and all of us as individuals willing to take on big ideas reflect the essence of what a Cranbrook Kingswood education should inspire. Congratulations again to Cathy and Juan Carlos, our distinguished 2019 alumni recipients. Thank you very much. Finally, on behalf of the entire community, I want to express my appreciation for everything the CK alumni do for Cranbrook. Thanks so very much for your hard work. All of us are committed to helping to ensure that the schools remain a source of pride for each one of you. As I close, one note for those of you who are planning on visiting the Alumni Courtyard this weekend, please stay away. It's under construction, probably not very safe. Next year is going to look just spectacular. And one more service announcement. Lunch is now served. It will be served shortly. You can eat either outside on a picnic table or also in the Kingswood dining hall. Thank you so much for coming. Come back soon.